Welcome to the Rise to the Challenge podcast. Joining me today, he's an entrepreneur, coach, real estate investor, host of the Traveling Investor Live. It's Nitzan Mosery. How are you doing today, Nitzan?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to have you on the show to talk about your rise to the challenge. What we like to do with all of our guests is go right to the beginning, talk about where you're from and what were you involved in growing up.
Sure. So I'm first generation American. My parents came over from Israel, and I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and grew up in Brooklyn and then in Manhattan as well. Did a little stint in New Jersey. My father and my parents, I should say, were entrepreneurs themselves. Growing up, my mother's a Holocaust survivor, and my father's from Israel. And during the 50s, 60s, 70s, they were going through all that and building a country, so their education wasn't that high. So they had to provide for themselves. So they were entrepreneurs. My father always told us, and my mother always told us that, real estate is a great asset to have, especially if you own a piece of land free and clear. So I was a little kid growing up in New York City, running around in the 70s, having fun, getting into trouble, was on the road and doing what everybody told me to do, right? Go to school, get an education, go to college, go get that big corporate job, and life will be perfect. Well, I found myself at the age of 25 when my father passed away, and I was like, what the hell is life all about? Working on Wall Street as a cold caller and selling, doing stocks and whatnot, and working with my brothers in retail. I just didn't understand what life was all about. So I kind of threw my hands up in the air and went traveling for about 6 years after my father passed away. And that's where I met my wife, and we got together.
You talked about growing up in New York, New Jersey, and we know as it today as a big hot spot for real estate. Was that a big hot spot when your parents came over and they were starting to get into real estate?
In some locations, yes, right. In some areas, my father was able to, get some property in Manhattan in what now is called Soho, but when he owned it, it wasn't called Soho. Right. So, being at the right place at the right time in the right location and letting that appreciation ride you is a great thing. So some of those things, were bought. Listen, if you're in the real estate game long enough, you're going to have mistakes, you're going to have errors, you're going to lose money, you're going to make money. The thing that you always want to make sure is that you're always making more money than you're losing.
Correct. You talked about the East Coast lifestyle or the stuff that you're getting involved in. Do you think that played a troubling in your future, or did you needed to go through those challenges to help you grow as an individual?
Oh, I think challenges are what make you grow as an individual. I don't think anything else will make you grow as an individual. When life is good, life is great. We take it for granted. When life is bad, when there's obstacles, when there's challenges, when there's things going sideways, that's when character is built. That's when you understand who you are and what you're made of, right? Do you fall, it's like the old story, right? You take a glass and you throw it on the ground. Certain pieces, the glass itself shatters, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some pieces can be used as a weapon and can slice and kill, and some just evaporate and go into dust. So that's kind of how I see obstacles and challenges as well, as when you're going through them, you find out what you're made of. Can you stick with it, or are you just going to pack up and run? Do you stick your head in the ground and hope for the best? Do you have big enough shoulders to keep going forward and take the responsibility and never look down or never look at and say I'm done, but always figuring out the next move? So yeah, challenges are what make us strong and gives you the gray.
Hopefully I don't have to worry about that for some time now. Was there anybody that you looked up to or someone that inspired you during your journey?
Yeah, I had a lot of people that I looked up to. I had older brothers, so I always looked up to them as well. My family, I was always told, look at your brothers, follow their footsteps. They're good people. They're, smart, hardworking. They know what they're doing. So, be a good person like them. Obviously, my parents were role models. But I did have a couple of mentors. One mentor, he told me, he said, find somebody who has what you want, do what they did, and you'll get what they got, because it's that simple. He goes, you don't have to rewrite the book. He goes, you don't have to reinvent the circle. He goes, just go out there, find somebody. Look, somebody who acts the way you want to act, drives the car that you want to drive, is philanthropic the way you want to be, and just read about them, learn about them. How do they get to where they wanted to be? How do they get all that money and do that? So I had that mentor, and a couple of other people in my life, that have taught me many, many things. My wife, she's constantly teaching me stuff, and my kids as well. So, it's always a learning experience.
Who was that person that you talked about? That mentor said, go find that person. Who was that person for you?
He was a guy that had what I wanted. He was someone that went out and not only made money, but was doing it, I guess, in today's terminology, environmentally friendly. He was way advanced, way before his time, way before the whole environmental movement took place. And he went out and he just went from nothing, went from, a guy with a pickup truck to hustling, to finding a system, to creating a system, to building a team, to working that team and managing that team so that they can produce millions of dollars in sales. And then he put together his coaching program, where it was just about 98% of his coaching program was just to rewire your brain and rewire you so that you can be ready and be open to the success that awaits you. So I saw the lifestyle. I saw how much money he was making. He created one of the fastest privately held companies in the country at the time. So he was something phenomenal. And I looked at him and I said, I want to listen to what he has to say. I want to learn from him. I want to know how he puts on his pants in the morning. I want to know how he drives his car, how he thinks, right? Will he go out and manage a property, or will he find a property manager and maybe take less, but it will free up his time so he can go make more money, right? How will he, how does he overcome objections? What's his MO? All that. So, that was somebody that I really looked up to, and, he was incredible. And then, of course, traveling and whatnot, I sat in many ashrams, and I was with Osho and Amaji in the South. So just listening to them and getting understanding from them, and how the universe works, how we work, how energy, how all that stuff works. Just that was enlightening from that perspective.
A lot of people talk about how they kind of want the life that someone else lives, or, oh, I see this person in the media, I want to do exactly how they did. But as they're getting and going through that journey, things are not going step by step. Did you ever have those moments where things didn't go accordingly, but you talked about earlier how challenges helped you grow? Was that something similar that you were going through?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I just closed on a property yesterday. I should have closed on it yesterday, but there was a hiccup. So now I got to pay the lender more money. I got to pay this guy more money. We got to redo the paperwork. We got to do all that. And why didn't it close? Because FedEx didn't deliver my documents to the title company. They were still at the place of origin. So, oh my God, what do you do? So, yeah. So, even today, things, it's Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong, and expect it to go wrong. Just be ready for it. Always have plan A through Z ready, waiting, and you just go down the line without ever getting emotionally attached to it, without ever freaking out. Because when you freak out, right, when they tell us, right, when you start panicking, that's when you lose it. That's when you can die. So things go sideways. Okay, it's only money. Let's take it easy here. And okay, plan A. Plan A didn't work. Okay, what's plan B? Okay, plan B. That worked on plan B. Great. So we can move on a little bit to C. And you just move down the line until you cross that line. So yeah, things do go sideways. Things will go sideways, and that's part of the fun of the game. When you look back at it, a couple of years from now, you can laugh at it.
I definitely can say that. When you were getting older, was college ever in your path, or did you kind of want to go start right into that career path?
So career for me, I never knew what I wanted to be. I never knew what I wanted to do. I never grew up in, saying, hey, I want to be a multifamily syndicator. You know, I grew up in real estate, so it was always been in the back of my mind, when I was working with my brothers and whatnot. But growing up, I went to college because I promised my parents I would. I never graduated, right? So when I was 18, I went back to Israel. I did a part in the army and then a part of in an organization, in a group service, community service work and whatnot. So then when I came back, I promised my parents that I wouldn't stay in Israel and I wouldn't go longer into the army, that I'd come back and study in university. But I had no idea what I wanted to do, who I was, right? I had no idea. My father always told me study law. So I went and studied business law. Hated it, I studied speech pathology, speech therapy. I was good at it, didn't like it. Marketing, I was good at it, didn't like it. Poli science, I was good at it, didn't like it. I just didn't understand why I was going to college at that time, because I didn't know who I was and what I wanted, right? So I was working with, my brothers. I was working on Wall Street at the time with one of the big companies, and then my father passed away, and that's kind of what threw me. And then I learned, and I started traveling the world for 6 years. I left New York, I moved to Israel, and then from Israel, I left Israel with an empty backpack. I went to India, stayed there for almost a year, and continued traveling the world. And that was the time that I learned most about myself and who I was. And I don't think in today's world that you need to go to college. That's my personal opinion. If you do, that's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you can learn being an entrepreneur online today. You don't need to go. You can pretty much learn anything. Obviously, if you want to be a doctor or an engineer, maybe you would have to go to a specific school so you can learn, but I'm sure you can learn brain surgery on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Who are you going to practice on? Right? So I don't necessarily think that you need college today unless you're going it to be, a specific major for something that you really can't learn online, but, business and whatnot. So I came back from Israel in 2009 and I started flipping houses here in Florida. And I realized that I wanted that people were getting into the single family game, and the end was coming. And I always wanted, my dad always, we had properties in New York that were paying rent, and I knew, this is, I'm a lazy guy. I don't want to work. So how can I get people to pay me and not work? Well, go buy real estate, go buy rental properties. Okay, I only have so much money. How can I go and buy multi-million-dollar property? Well, use other people's money. Okay, let me go use other people's money, right? But I learned from other people what to do, and I still made mistakes, and I still make mistakes, and that's how we grow. And the difference is now that my mistakes are smaller and smaller and smaller, and less consequential than they were in the beginning.
When you chose to travel, where did you? Let me say. Why did you pick the certain places that you ended up being for a certain? You talked about Israel was being for a certain reason, and then you talked about India. Why did you pick India and the other places as your go-to spots?
So in Israel, when people finish the army service, right, men go into 3, women go into 2, they kind of split up. They take a year off, right, to like decompress and just, I spent 3 years in the service, went through hell. I want to decompress before I either go study or go work. Okay. So they choose either the Far East or South America, right? Both because they're pretty cheap, and on a soldier's salary, you don't make a lot of money. So when I was living in Israel, a lot of my friends kept telling me, "Dude, you got to go to India, man. We've been to India. India's so awesome. You're gonna love India. You're gonna love India. You're gonna love India." I'm like, "Dude, I grew up in New York City. I had little India next to me. Going down to the restaurants and hanging out with friends and whatnot. Go to India. Okay." So then a friend of mine that I was sharing an apartment with, he told me that he's going to India for 2 months on vacation. He's taking off from work, and that he's going. I said, I'm coming with you. If I sit on the beach in Tel Aviv, or if I sit on the beach in somewhere else, it's still a beach. Let me go. Let me have fun. I didn't know what I was getting into. I had no idea what I was getting into. Best decision of my entire life. That decision to go with him and then to stay when he came back. I'd never done anything like that before. I mean, I've traveled, New York, Mexico, Europe, Israel, but never beyond Israel, and for that long of a time by myself, So it was pretty amazing for me to do it. And during my travels, I found myself being homeless many times, and homeless meaning, money ran out. Didn't have a place to stay. My bags were stolen. All my clothes were stolen. Everything. All I had was my passport and my two hands and my desire to not beg for money, but to make money. So then I went and I learned how to make jewelry and did some dishes, bought some stones, made some jewelry, went to the market, sold that, did some more things, learned Reiki, learned massage therapy, did all that, made a little bit of money. So, it was an incredible experience with all kinds of experiences, different types of experiences. And I learned in the worst of times to just be cool. And then in the best of times to be cool.
Did you have that mentality where you had to work for everything? And because you talked about you didn't want to beg for money at all, but that you wanted to earn it so you could feel that you accomplished something, or that you could show people that I can do this. Like, just because I don't have anything doesn't mean I can't still enjoy my time while I'm here.
No, absolutely. And I wasn't doing it for anybody else. I was doing it all just for me. Again, it's always a question, and it's something that I teach to my daughters, and I say, always ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be?
Yep.
Forget the world around you. Forget how people act. Forget how people treat you. Forget what's going on. Who am I, and what do I want to do, and how do I want to behave? Right? That's the only thing you got to worry about. That's the only thing you got to look at, and you got to listen to, and you got to live with. That's it. Right? So when I ask myself that question, who do I want to be, or who am I, right? How do I want to behave? Well, I don't want to be that guy on the corner begging for money when I'm capable of moving rocks. I'll move rocks all day. I want to earn my keep. I want to add value to people. I don't want to be a burden on society. I want to be a value on society, right? And that's how I look at what I do and my business and my way of life is I always want to add value. Right? I want to make sure that I can help you get to your goal and to help you do what you need to do.
But now you can say you can make jewelry and you can make stuff. So if you find stuff on the ground, you'll be like, I can make this into something right now. You learned a skill that you probably wouldn't have gotten the chance to if you didn't have that opportunity, most likely.
No, absolutely. I learned many skills, many skills. I learned how to I learned how to make a tent from nothing. I've learned how to make food and fire from nothing. I've learned how to make jewelry. I've learned how to give massages and learned Reiki so I could, give Reiki massages and whatnot. Skills. That's what traveling does. And that's what college doesn't do, right? College doesn't teach you skills. It doesn't teach you how to interact with situations. Mm-hmm. Okay. In life, we need to learn how to interact with situations, and it's not a reaction, but it's an acting. Because when something happens to you, most people out there will react.
Yeah.
Something happens. Oh my God! Boom, boom, boom. They'll react, and then they'll go, "Oh, I should have done that instead of that. Why did I do it?" Right? So traveling, going through challenges and obstacles in life will set you up so that when the doo-doo hits the fan, you're not reacting, but you're taking a breath, you're taking a second, you're stepping back, you're going, okay, everybody's alive, everybody's breathing, nobody's bleeding, nobody's dead. Now let's look at it, right? That's kind of what meditation does for you. That's what age does for you, traveling. And that's one thing that college doesn't do for you, unfortunately it doesn't.
Have you gone back to these places since that year of travel and been able to enjoy even more that you didn't get to experience yet?
Oh yeah, I've been back to many places. I've been back to Mexico. I've been to Australia twice, Thailand, and in Southeast Asia many times. Many places. Europe. Tons of places in Europe. Going back, it's nice to go back and see how places have changed, but also I like to go places that I haven't gone yet, and I only have so much time left on this rock, so I want to make sure I see a lot of it, and that's kind of why I do what I do.
So when you made the change to come back to America, you talked about going to Florida. What made you want to change from New York, from the East Coast to down into the South?
Well, at the time I was actually living in Israel. with my wife and my daughters. So we decided to move from Israel back to the States. And I told my wife, I said, great, we can live anywhere in the continental US except for New York City and California. Anywhere else I'm open to. Those two places, I'm done with New York, I'm done with California. I haven't seen the rest of the country. I'm open to it. Let's do it. So on the way, we were flying from Israel to South America to be with our friends in Chile. And we stopped, we had a layover in Miami. And I have a good friend of mine that moved from New York to Florida 25 years ago. And at the time, it was 15 years ago, or yeah, just recently moved, maybe 10 years ago. No, more. Anyway, doesn't matter. So we went to Miami. We hung out there, and my wife is from Europe, so she's never been to Miami. So I showed her South Beach and the beaches in Fort Lauderdale, and then we came up to Del Rey, and I showed her the area. She was like, "Oh my God, this is great." We went to South America. On the way back, we stopped in Miami again, stopped in to say hello to my friend, and then went back to Israel. And the crash was going on, right? It was 08, 07, 08, and then I asked her, I said, do you want to move? This would be a good time to go back to the States, get back into real estate, flip a house or two, make some money, and continue. And, remember, this time we were big hippies. I had dreadlocks below my ass. I had a long goatee. It was just a little goatee, about the same length, but just one piece here, not all grown out. And we were big hippies. So we said, yeah, we bought the house that we live in. We said, we'll be in it for a year, hang out, and then sell it and continue hippieing around the world. But then my daughter had to go to school. She turned 3. I started flipping houses again. Next thing you know, here we are 12 years later, and, we're still here.
Did you ever find a new passion besides real estate over your time being in Florida or being back in the United States? Because you talked about how real estate really got you to be able to do the things that you enjoyed doing. But did you ever find something else that you enjoyed doing?
Yeah, so I enjoy mentoring and coaching people. Anybody who wants to start a real estate business, whether it's, renovating single-family homes, wholesaling single-family homes, I've been there, done that. I'm still doing it. If they want to do short-term rentals, been there, done that, doing that right now. They want to get into multifamily and, build, passive income where they buy something, they set up their systems and processes once, and then they let it run for themselves. And I can also, and I love showing people how to get other people to fund their deals for them. I had a guy, I'll tell you a story why I love it so much, because I had a guy who I've known for several years. He's a social worker. He's a single dad, he shares his son with his wife, and, he can't make ends meet because he's a social worker. They don't make anything. He tried his hand in real estate once, borrowed money from family and friends, bought a property, lost everybody's money.
Oh.
And he's like, I don't want to do real estate. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And then we said, listen, he came to a mastermind of mine. He became a coaching student, and we walked him through and we showed him everything. He bought a triplex, right? Now, you don't have to buy millions and millions of dollars worth of properties to have a 2, 3, 4 step up in your lifestyle. You can buy a triplex, you can buy a fourplex, a 10 unit, right? And you can make a lot of money on those, and those are awesome. He bought a triplex, so he got a hard money lender, he got somebody to loan him money, then he got a private investor to loan him the part of the equity. So he's in it with no money. He renovated the place, held it the whole time through COVID, sold it, made a profit, paid everybody back, paid his entire family back, and paid off all his credit card debt.
Wow.
Now that guy's living, he's like, dude, this is awesome. He goes, thank you so much. And you know what? It was just a little mind switch, that we worked on, and he suddenly looked at it from a different perspective, and everything changed, right? What do they say? When you change your perspective changes, right? So, that's what I love. I love watching people succeed. I love helping them, because I truly believe and I truly know that we were not put on this rock to sit behind a desk for 40, 50 years, slaving, giving up our time, which we can never get back, for money, right? Now, I understand that we have to pay for our mortgage and our light bill and our phones and kids and whatnot. Yes, right? I'm not, I understand that, but there are other ways of doing it than sitting behind a desk. You just got to have, big enough to take that first step. And I want to be there to help you and guide you. I'm not going to do it for you, right? I'm going to guide you with my experiences to help you achieve success. And all you got to do is do it once. You do it once, you get over the fear, you get over the anxiety, you know how to do it. Now the second one's a lot easier. Third one's a lot easier. Now you become a pro. Now you're cruising. Now you can really, you know, enjoy life.
Would you say the mentoring and the teachings you give to individuals is something that hasn't really been done, but it's based on your experience and your outcome that you have gotten?
Yes, absolutely. I take my experiences in life and the way I see things that can happen, right? So I talk to people a lot about mindset, about, you know, manifestation, you know, energy. What you put out is going to come to you, right? How you think, right? I was talking with my property manager the other day, and she passed out and she had to go to the hospital and whatnot. And she said, yeah, I can't eat that food anymore. I said, listen to what you're saying. I can't eat that food. Your body doesn't hear the can't. Your mind doesn't hear the can't. All it hears is, I eat that food. So don't say I eat that food. Say, I'm eating healthy now, because that's what your body and your mind is going to hear, and that's what you're going to go towards, right? So I focus a lot with my clients about the mindset, about the self-talk, about manifestation, about writing things down. You got to do it in blue ink. The mind works better when it sees in blue ink. And there's just things that you got to do every single day so that you can move to success, or just stay where you are. You know, it's up to you.
Talk about these last couple of years. During this time, especially during this pandemic, real estate has been, I mean, I've seen it here in my state that they're calling it like a seller's or buyer's market, but not a seller's market, in a way where people are paying more than what they're buying or they should be. How has that affected your business, or has it helped your business in the way that people are getting the mentoring and getting the coaching and stuff like that? I probably said it wrong, so someone's probably going to send me a message, be like, you said it wrong. And I'm be like, I don't know real estate as much. I watch the shows. I try to learn as much as I can.
So, you know, in multifamily, we're in a seller's market. But, you know, like you were talking about in single families, there's a phenomenon that's happening right now. Usually when there's an influx, an overflow of properties on the market, prices go down, properties stay on the market longer, right? That's when the market starts to go down. But now what's happening is more houses are coming on the market, prices are going up.
Yeah.
Prices usually tend to go down. So that means that there's more and more people that are buying, that are leaving. There's a lot of migration happening right now because of the pandemic, because of what's been going on. We were in a great market before the elections. I mean, that was a booming market. You know, the pandemic hit. It was tough when, you know, when you take away the power of the landlord to be able to evict someone who's not paying, you take that power away, you know, landlord's kind of helpless at that point, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, we were helpless for a long time. And, you know, there's ways, there's always a way around the system. You have to be able to think out of the box. You have to be able to take that box and throw it away and come up with a new box. You got to think. And again, challenges, right? Makes a person. So it's definitely been a trying time. Real estate, you know, multifamily. All right, when you're talking real estate, you got, you know, there's two perspectives. There's the buyer's perspective, and then there's the seller's perspective. For me, as a seller, great time to sell. Great time. Peak market, feeding frenzy of buyers. You know, you're getting top dollar, and you can hold out for as long as you think you can to get that top dollar. Awesome. I just sold 2 properties. One closed today, the other one closed on Friday. You know, we made beautiful money, right? Because of what's going on now. As a buyer, I can't understand what people are buying. Things are just so expensive when we're talking multifamily, right? And there's that ratio between the income that you're getting and the money that you paid for it, right? The purchase price. Mm-hmm. And that ratio is very, very low. That means that they're super expensive. And when you talk to lenders today, lenders they don't want to put you into a permanent loan, because a permanent loan will only give you maximum 1 year of interest only, maybe 2, okay, on your mortgage. But when you get a bridge loan, when you get a hard money loan for a multifamily, then you can get interest only for 3, 4, 5 years. And the reason why they're doing that is because they know that the cash flow is so slim on these properties. That's the only way you can make it work, and that's the only way we can keep the economy moving. So as a buyer, for me, this is a terrible time. That's why I underwrite a lot of properties. I look at a lot of properties, and it's just no, because it's just too expensive. But yet there's someone always in front of us or always behind us that is ready to pay that price. And God bless them.
Do you only look in Florida, or do you look in all across the United States for properties for your business?
I look in Florida, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. I'm starting to look out of the Southeast as well, going into other tertiary and secondary markets around the country.
Do you have like a favorite market that you prefer?
I love the Southeast. The Southeast is great. The Atlanta market is booming. Florida is fantastic. But again, it's just so expensive now. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I bought properties several years ago, and now I'm selling them, and I just can't believe that people are buying them at that price. I just can't believe it. So, hey, you know what? You want to buy it? Who am I to say no?
That's true. It's almost like every every house is going to be on $1 million listing by the time the prices are going to get to those numbers. You host the show, The Traveling Investor Live. What is that concept, and why did you want to do that?
Right. So, it was first a radio show. It was on a W4CY radio, which is an internet radio show that went out to, 5 countries all around the world, and, tons of listeners. So I had a radio show once a week over there, the Traveling Investor Show. And the tagline is Master Your Mind, Body, and Wallet. And the show, my goal is to bring content to people, add value, right? Bring guests that will teach something, bring guests that will talk about mindset, we'll talk about success and failure, and show people that, hey, you know what? I was like this, just like you, and I did X, Y, and Z, and I got that. So, if I can do it, you can do it, right? Mm-hmm. Or here are some techniques that can help you do, lose weight, get healthy, stay fit, keep your mind focused. Here's how to underwrite a property. Here's how to do, all that stuff. So my goal is to add value to people and show them how to become a traveling investor. And so I decided that I didn't want to go on that radio show, on that radio platform. And then I brought it live every week on Facebook and YouTube. We do a live. And, I bring on athletes this week. I've got Josh Copeland. He's an ex, Division I athlete, football player. So he talks about where he came from, having nothing and, having it all and losing it and getting back and the mindset and all that. So that's what that show is all about. It's me kind of giving back to the community.
Doing these different sectors of ideas where it's the show, doing the coaching and doing the business, does it keep your passion going and you're always looking or fulfilling everything that you've wanted so far, and it keeps you going and keeps you positive and the momentum keeps going forward? Absolutely.
I want to build my coaching program. I want to help 1 billion people, right, achieve financial success, financial freedom, whatever it is for them, right? I want people to start thinking for themselves, start taking responsibility for their financial situation and their health situation, right? So any way that I can figure out, that I can come up with, that's a new way to reach people and talk to people and share with people and let that light bulb go off, that just inspires me more and more.
With your kids, are you looking for them to be a part of the family business, or are they looking at a different area and you're okay with that?
It's always nice if they want to continue and build this, but if they don't want to, if they want to go and live their life, man, it's their life. I want to see them flourish. I want to see them happy. That's the bottom line of a parent, just make sure your kid's happy and healthy and enjoying life.
And especially have them travel, at least do something.
Oh, absolutely.
Enjoy, because I think that's one thing I'm trying to do, because I always looked at, oh, I got to work, I have no time. And I told myself, no, I have to. I got to enjoy life any way possible. And I got to take trips and explore, because life's too short. And you never know when the last day is. And at any age, you never know when that will be. So I think it's definitely important that you share this message about getting out there, enjoying, being fulfilled in any way possible, because I think a lot of people are missing that right now. They don't know what to do, and they're struggling and searching for that answer.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, man. And I'll tell you, having a job and bills will always be there.
Yes. Yeah.
They'll always be there. Don't worry. So when you're young, go out, travel, enjoy life, knock it out of the park. When you're done, when you've learned about yourself and you know what you're passionate about and what really gets you going in the morning, right, and keeps you going, then go out there and do it. Money is not the answer. The answer is a fulfilling life, having a lifestyle that you create. Yep. You're the CEO of your life, right? I saw a video where a guy was talking. He says, if a business fails, who's responsible? The CEO. If the business succeeds, who's responsible? The CEO. If your life fails, who's responsible? You are. If your life, succeeds, who's responsible? You are. You're the CEO of your life. Take control of your life and stop. And what I call is stop living life by default, right? We're born into this system and this is what we're in. And okay, that's, let me just live life and I'll go with the river, right? One thing I learned in my travels is there's two main ways of living life, right? Life is like a river. You get on the boat and you can have a canoe, right? You're sitting on the canoe in the middle of the river and you can let the current life just take you wherever it wants. You can end up on this side of the river, on that side of the river, in the middle of the river, tossed over, broken, whatever. Then there's the other way where you can be on the river of life and you have a paddle in your hand. And now you can direct that boat, which is your life, where on that river you want to go. And you determine your life and your destiny. That's the beauty about existence, about where we live. There's so many ways of doing it, right? But if you want success and if you want something, well, then there is a certain way of doing it. There's the laws of the universe, man. They're written down. They're etched in our DNA. We know them, right? So don't worry about that job. It'll be there in a year, 2, 3, 4 years from now, right? Save money now and go, right? And enjoy life, because you never know. You may be sitting on a rock on a mountain somewhere and you may have $1 billion idea, but you'll never have that thought sitting behind a desk, taking care of, of your bills and whatnot.
That's so true. I love that message, and I definitely will take that. And I think everyone that's listening will take that. The final question I'll ask you, for someone that's listening to this interview based on your journey and experience, what tips or advice would you give them to overcome obstacles, accomplish their goals, and rise to the challenge?
That's a great question. So what tip would I give them? Sit with yourself and start knowing who you are, first of all, right? Now, you don't have to sit there and meditate for 10 hours a day. You don't have to do that. But knowing who you are, knowing what you want, what you like, helps rise to the challenge. I put together a system. It's called GPA, and it's not grade point average, but it stands for it talks about your G is for your goals, right? Write down your goals, okay? Your imagination is awesome. Disney said it. Everything. He started everything. It's in the imagination. The Aborigines of Australia, everything came from the dream world. Existence came from the dream world, from the imagination. Everything happens in the imagination. So I want you to start writing down your goals and make them massive. I want 3 private jets sitting in my private runway in my house And, I want 4 boats, the bigger, the better, right? And write down the type of lifestyle you want to have, what kind of house you want to have, be extremely detail oriented, because remember, you're the CEO. So a CEO plans out every step of the company. They foresee into the future where things are going to happen, how things are going to happen, and they plan accordingly. So now you're the CEO. So sit down, write down your goals. Okay, write down as in the present tense, as if it happened already, right? It is now August 3rd of this recording, and I have closed on 300 units by, today's August 3rd, and I closed on 300 units. Boom, right? That's how you write it, but in the future, okay? Then then the P is your purpose, right? Once you write down all your goals and everything, you got to figure out, okay, why do I want these things? What is it about these things that's going to fulfill me, okay? It may not be the boats, it may not be anything, but it may be the fact that that getting these boats, you were able to help, 1 million people do something, right? Maybe you were able to do something. Find out your why, your passion, right? Your purpose, okay? And when you find your purpose and you set your goals, then you've got to take massive action, okay? Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't know how, right? How do I take massive action? Well, I don't know how you take massive action, but what I do know is that when I'm looking at my goals and I have my passion, meaning I will go out there and no obstacle and no challenge will stop me from doing from achieving these goals, okay? Because I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. Now, how do I take action? Well, instead of asking how, it's all about questions. Life is all about questions, asking the right questions. Instead of asking how, ask who. Who can I help? Who can help me achieve my goals? Who do I need on my team that can do this, right? If I want to become a blogger now, and I don't know the first thing about blogging, if I want to be a podcaster, and I know nothing about podcasting, well, how do I become an awesome podcast? I don't know how. Well, let me ask a different question. Who can help me to become an awesome podcaster? I don't know. Let me go on YouTube and see who's an awesome podcaster. Let me see what they're doing. Let me start investigating to see who can help me achieve my goals and become and do whatever it needs to be. Now that story is a little different, right? Because the how, people get stopped at the how. Dude, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be a multi-millionaire. I barely make $50,000 a year. Well, it's not how, it's who, right? I don't know how to buy multifamily. No, don't worry about how. Who can teach you how to do it? Who can teach you how to do it by getting other people's money? Who can teach you how to do it with, whatever it is, right? Who? So that's my 2 cents about how you can rise to the challenge. You want to rise to the challenge? Man, find your passion. Find something that's going to light your ass on fire, okay? It can't be money. It can't be your kids, because when your kids grow up, or if you don't have kids, well, it can't be your kids, right? Because if you're doing it for them. No. Money, because money will always, it's never enough. You got to find your passion. Why do you want to do this, right? I want to help 1 billion people because I believe that we need financial freedom. I want everybody to enjoy life because that makes me feel important. And in my life, when I was younger, maybe that was missing in my life, but that's what makes me feel good by helping other people. I feel fulfilled inside me. And for me to feel fulfilled, I have to help people.
Yep.
So I got to go out and do that. That's my why, right? It used to be money. It used to be other things that didn't really work. So find your passion and write down your goals, man. Write down, make them specific, make them measurable, all that good jazz, right? Make them SMART goals and then take action. Start writing out your action steps. Who do I need to talk to? Who can help me with this? Where do I need to go for that? All that stuff. And forget the how.
I think that's so key right now. Like you kind of hit it, like people do things just for the money, or especially now with social media fame, like they want the attention. And usually if they go in that path, it always leads down the wrong path and leads down to the wrong direction that they go to. But whenever people go into the passion, you see the positive come out of that person. You see the smile, the happiness. It just starts a domino effect to bigger and better things, because if they were able to do that and accomplish that passion, they know, oh, I can achieve anything else that I want to go towards. Except when you go with the money, it's like, oh, I made $100,000. Oh, well, now what do I go 250? But it's just not going to be rewarding enough to get to that next step, because it's like, well, now I got to do something completely different, maybe out of my realm, to get to that moment.
Absolutely. And if when you're on your journey to making $1 million, making your first 100,000, making your first $500,000, whatever it is, there are obstacles. There are things that are going to smack you and knock you down.
Yeah.
If your passion, if your why is not strong enough, you're not getting back up. You're not getting back up. So, money has never been a strong enough passion. That didn't work. I'll go try something else. No, there is no try, right? I don't have anything else to fall back on, right? This is it, right? I have to make this happen. That has to be the mentality. And then you got to light your ass on fire, and you got to work. There's a great book called The 12-Week Year. You got to read it, because the guy says, why don't we take 12 months, right? You have your year goal. Why wait to accomplish it in 1 year? Why not bring it down to 12 weeks? However, to do that, you have to have the same mindset and the same fire as someone who's getting on a cruise in 2 weeks and has to finish all their work before they get on that cruise, and nothing is going to stop them from getting on that cruise, right? You ever see those people? Yeah. Oh my God, I'm leaving on vacation in 2 weeks, and they get 6 months worth of work done in 2 weeks. You're like, dude, you've been working here for 5 years. You've never done that before. I am not missing that boat, dude, right? and they do incredible things. That's how you have to work every single day for 12 weeks, and you can accomplish a year goal in 12 weeks. And imagine you do that 2 or 3 times a year.
Yep.
You've just, what your year 3 goal is, you just did it in the first 9 months of the year. Holy cow. That's a different mindset. That's a different way of looking at things.
Well, Nitzan, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about your rise to the challenge. You're inspiring so many people, and we're excited to see what the future looks like for you.
Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate it. It was fun.